believe it or not, December. We've got everybody here tonight. We'll go through the standard stuff for minutes and financials and things like that. And then we're going to move citizen comments up because we do have a closed session tonight to go over a couple of things that are subject to closed session. That way, any people that want to make comments that are here can make their comments, don't have to stick around till the very end. And when we're probably done with closed session, since we don't make decisions in closed session anyway, if we put it at the very end of the agenda tonight for workshop, we'll come out of closed session and adjourn and just see everybody next week. So with that, review and approval of minutes. Do we have a motion on minutes tonight from our last workshop session?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion from Pat. Do we have a support?
Support.
And from Johnson. Any questions, comments, or edits to the minutes tonight? Seeing none. All in favor of approving the minutes as submitted? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Hayden. That takes us to the financial report and approval of bills. We'll start with our treasurer.
Well, I haven't had a chance to go through it, so maybe we'll start with our manager.
Okay,
Mr. Meshkin, does he see anything that he wants to point out?
Really think I do. A light month. Not really, no.
One thing popped, I see here that popped in my head, that people IT contracted services, they're the ones that are discontinuing individual support, right?
Right, they're discontinued now. That's
Okay.
and they're
So
still, we're in transition right now.
will that
That'll go away
billing will go away from them?
for in future months. And the new guy is TRK Technologies, I want to say, or TR Technologies. Became recommended from People IT, and he's working with People IT right now to transition things over and to learn our system. He just started doing stuff for us last week.
Good.
Find out.
The Halcyon Hills Patrol, is the 3115, is that for the whole summer?
That was for the whole summer. That is Halcyon Hills bill, because we're that pass-through agent.
Yeah,
Well, that's what they paid for their patrol in the association, but they can't hire directly from the sheriff's department. So we have to hire for them where they go in between. Yes, they always reimburse before I pay. So they've reimbursed us. They paid us and we paid the sheriff.
sheriff is listed under parks for Halcyon Hills Patrol.
yeah.
I'll have something when you're done.
Pat, what you got?
Al, with the insurance for employees.
Yeah.
Is it like a medical savings plan? Is it an insurance company? What is it?
It's a Priority Health PPOHSA. But it's a health insurance plan, but people can have a health savings account along with that to pay their deductibles out of.
Okay, so if an employee has medical expenses and they just decide to take the cash and not bother with, say, you sort of answered this question for me, but the more I thought about it, it's like, wouldn't the insurance company pay them if the money?
No,
See where I'm going?
yeah, no. We have for full-time employees, they are eligible for our health insurance coverage, which is the Priority Health Program. If they don't want that, If they don't need health insurance, let's say their spouse has health insurance, has good health insurance, they don't want to change and jump on ours. Then we offer them a $3,000 a year medical flexible spending plan. That comes directly through us. There's no outside company involved. They turn in their medical bills to us that are not paid somewhere else. And we reimburse them directly from our money. If every employee did that, we'd save a lot of money.
Because we wouldn't,
Because we're not paying that health insurance premium on there.
interesting, okay.
No. And we have the same flexible spending money for our regular half-time employees also. They're not eligible for the health insurance plan from Priority Health, but we do have a flex spending account for them. For if they're a regular half-time employee of at least 18 hours a week, then we offer them $1,500 a year towards their medical expenses.
Okay,
This was set up through us by a company called Flex Administrators out of Grand Rapids. But they really have no other association by giving us the proper plan documentation that we had to pass years ago. And whenever an amendment for federal law comes up, they alert us to that. We amend things as needed. Other than that, they're totally hands off. It's all internal.
choose that,
It saves a lot of administration costs.
okay. I'm good.
To follow up, I didn't see any of that in the employee handbook, so maybe that section isn't.
That stuff that's not listed in the employee handbook. You're right. It talks about the health, it talks about health benefits. But
Yeah,
doesn't talk.
kind of generally, but
Yeah,
there's
see,
no
that's where-
detail about any
yeah.
kind of health spending accounts
Yeah.
or none of that's.
And that's because that's more of a flexible thing for the township to do as opposed to,
There are summary plan descriptions you distribute for the health plan,
yeah.
separate documentation for that,
Those go to the employees.
right?
Get a chance, like to get a copy of that so I can put it in the book. So.
Sure.
Al, yeah, because what we're trying to do is pave the way for you heading off to sunny shores.
Thank you.
Beaches and palm trees,
Drinks with little umbrellas.
Dark realm.
umbrella drinks.
Other questions on the bills? All right, we'll go ahead and put those on the agenda for next week. What do we got on new business, Al?
Well, we have several items. First item is we finally had the letter, it's in your stack there, from the Community Enhancement Board about the $50,000 that we had allocated towards that. Saying that, yeah, there was some question on the board itself, can they legally do that? And the answer is yes, and if you want to do that, here we are. So I believe we have 4 of the 5 communities have pledged toward this. I put the $50,000 in our budget back in March when we approved the budget for this year, so the money is accounted for there. But what I would like you to do is reaffirm that, yes, before I cut a check for $50,000 and send it away, that you want me to do that.
Questions?
Pat?
I like the idea of it going to them for vetting purposes. On the other hand, we have a list from you of contracted services. I just answered my own question.
Okay, yeah, that contracted services is something different that
different.
we also fund many nonprofits from annually.
Well-
We have our contracted services that we approve a list of annually. We have an annual allotment to the CEP board that we include in about $3,300 annually. This $50,000 is a one-time
Right.
injection.
Should we then review and segregate nonprofit moving forward? Should we at least review the idea of segregating nonprofit from contracted services is there a blend of in contracted services of some nonprofits and some for-profits?
I don't think so, because now we use the term contracted services. This is under the Township Board's department. Because we cannot make donations to a nonprofit. Can't do it.
Right.
No.
I read it.
But we have several nonprofits out there that provide a service that Laketown residents can participate in. So we have a small stipend for those nonprofits to help them provide that service for our residents. One is mediation services. I think they're in there for 500. So I've tried to steer people that
Yep.
towards that in the past.
Where I'm going with that is though, is that if CEP is going to do vetting, which
Yeah.
is a good idea.
Yeah.
How do we decide when a contracted services should be sent over to CEP versus that we can just have them do a contract?
The intent here is that the CEP is for grants of more of a one-time nature. And that mediation services wants to buy some piece of equipment or some vehicle or something to help them with their mission. It's a bigger one-time purchase. Go talk to CEP. Our own contracted services is really more of a stipend. Many of those groups have been on that same list for years and years and years. You know, that here's $500 for your coffers. You can use it to pay your electric bills. You can, pay staff with it. Whatever is helping you achieve your mission, you can use it for. Where the CEP money is really for more often a one-time project that nonprofit wants to do.
Okay. He's leading me into an area where I have further discussion. Should this wait for that discussion or can I move
Well-
ahead? In other words, this is on the agenda, sorta.
Well, not
yes.
the contracted services.
My question would be, and see if you want to go with this or not, is that you said they've been on the list for a while. Okay. If you weren't here, and this is now our list, how do we turn some of them over to CEP to re-vet? Or how do we vet this list?
They are,
Since you know them and we don't, what do we do
well,
to
I've
vet?
got actual contracts with each of those groups.
Are they
they're-
renewed like
Huh?
annually?
Yeah, they actually make a request to us annually.
And they have to go annually, okay.
Yeah, annually to funding. And there's some in there, where's my paperwork here?
We look at that list in the context of
Yeah.
building the budget every year.
That's what I figured. I wasn't,
Yeah.
I didn't want to dig in if we were going to cover
Yeah.
it somewhere else.
Yeah, we're gonna cover this at budget time again.
Okay,
We'll start doing that in January, next month.
And can we have the contracts available for everybody to review then?
Sure, I can do that, but the contracts are a simple one page.
Yeah, they are, because I've read them, but I
Yeah.
just thought.
I mean, and
I can.
Patrick,
I'll
then
stamp-
Patrick
stamp
can
the
see what
contract,
the
yeah.
contracts look like.
Yeah.
that's right out of the MTA book, which
Yeah.
Jim provided. It literally says it can be almost a napkin,
Yeah.
but it still has to be in writing.
Yeah,
But
we
then
do
you
have
can,
those.
you can see them then.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And my understanding was the additional 50 grand for the CEP was gonna replace some, if not all of these other contracted services.
That wasn't
But that
ever
was
my
good.
intent. I don't think I didn't mean to make that sound like that, no.
But put it this way, the list in your hand was budgeted for this current year.
Right.
If in giving the 50,000 to CEP for the bigger transformative type projects, when we do budget, we decide we don't want to do any of those, that's completely our decision. If we want to continue to do them, that's completely our decision. That's just the part of the debate on building the budget.
Yeah.
Jim?
Regarding the 501(c)(3)s, is there a cap that comes through the CEP for each service?
don't know that for the $50,000 one there is, but I don't know for sure. I know historically on the regular grants that they give every quarter, I think they try and stay, give or take, about 5,000. But that's because they're working with such a much smaller budget. Our annual contribution to CEP, like Al said, is about $3,300. So when you think about that type of contribution from the participating municipalities, they just don't have a huge pot to work with. This $50,000 coming from each of the municipalities gives them a much different budget to work with on those projects. I don't know if they've set a limit on that grant program.
That'd be a Gary Dewey question. He's
Yep.
our rep on there still.
In the past though, and I have the application, it says funding limit, no limit. But it says a typical award is anticipated to be approximately $5,000.
Right.
And to Linda's point, this was put together before they went to each of the 5 or 6 members and said, would you cough up 50 grand instead of 3 grand or
Right.
whatever? So they'll have a much bigger pot if we agree to do this, which sounds like several of the other members have agreed.
We'll say a group needs 50 grand. They want to recoup 50 grand because they've lost that much over, COVID. I mean, they're still reeling from that.
Well, that's up to them to application and then make it an application that would attract the attention.
Well, the group I'm talking about has done that, but I mean, I guess I'm confused as to how this gets disseminated, this gets sent down to the group. How much, when it does, is it quarterly? Is it one lump sum? What is it exactly? I'm confused there.
Why don't we reach out to Gary and or Jason at the MAC and get a series of bullet points that gives us a little more explanation.
The CEP does quarterly grants, tell you that much.
Should we hear from a CEP rep at some?
That would be
point?
Gary,
Gary,
Oh,
the rep.
Gary's our representative on the CEP.
right?
but does it necessarily mean he understands the protocols, procedures, or is
Well-
he just our rep? In other words,
Well,
what
if he doesn't, then he can bring Jason. Jason's the director of the MAC.
I think he does. I've met with him
Okay.
and talked about, I mean, he goes to the meetings and so he hears
He's
it
been
all.
through the training for,
Yeah.
they actually, the CEP boards have all gone through training to learn how to vet, somebody had a significant request like a 50,000. Well, okay, prove it. Why, what are you providing? Why do you need that much? Do you have,
exactly, and
Yeah.
that's why I kind of wondered if we're giving guidance to residents, we should probably know of what we speak.
yeah, well, the
So-
website's got a lot of information on
CEP,
it. The-MAC dot. And they've got a tab in there for the CEP.
hang on Al, but
It's right here.
it's in the.
It's on the bottom of the
It's on the
letter.
letter.
Bottom.
Thank you, I got
Yeah.
it. Oh, good.
Okay, yeah.
Their actual application is like 4 pages, but you only fill out 1. The other 3 is information on the program.
Understood.
So is this an item for the agenda then?
I
New
think so,
business?
but I think Jim had.
Well, I
something
just
else
have
he
one
wanted.
more question and
Mhm.
we're fortunate to have Ron here because kind of like to have his thoughts on it. When I read from the staff attorney for the MTA, it says a township cannot make a gift of money or assets. And it does say a township must receive equal or better value in exchange for public money or assets. I know that this Jason from the CEP has said, well, we checked with our council and our council says, yeah, you can give us 50 grand. Of course, their council would say that, but you probably could find a lawyer that might suggest that it's not
Mm.
proper. I'm just trying to see where we land. Is this even legal? We don't know what they're gonna do with the money. We don't have a
Now, remember,
contract for what they
we're
do.
calling this from our ARPA money. It's got a whole different set of strings to it. It's not, ARPA money, ARPA actually had a clause in there to get money to nonprofits.
Right.
Yeah, and that's just something different about it.
Yeah, this article
I
is
forgot
general
about
funds.
that. This is just ARPA. So, but ARPA will be gone.
Well, ARPA.
So we're not
ARPA's
gonna be
ARPA
able
on
to
one
do this
side of the
every month.
fence. Yeah, ARPA's
Doing
accounted
it every-
for.
They're not asking
Right.
for it every year.
Okay.
This is a one-off.
I just want them to think that this is now an annual.
Oh, gosh, no.
And it's,
Okay, I'm good.
It's one and done. Unless ARPA happens again.
Oh, God, no.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not.
Okay, are any of these groups able to receive money from, the ARPA funds? If this is different,
Directly from us?
directly from us,
No. We are saying that we are using the ARPA money to give that to the experts to vet the people. That's where our ARPA money for nonprofits is going to a CEP to distribute.
I'm glad you said that because I thought I had advised a resident improperly, but you just
Now,
said
but
it.
now on any other nonprofits out there that are not on our contracted services list and want to be for an annual stipend, that's a possibility. But keep in mind that our annual stipends are typically $500 or $1,000 through a contracted service. What service are they going to provide to Laketown residents?
That's where
I
you
know
get
what
to
you're
the,
thinking of, and they can make that argument very easily.
yeah, they could.
Yeah,
and that's where you
and we
get
could
to,
justify it very easily then.
that's where you get to this.
Yes.
Because then it's coming out of tax dollars and,
Yeah.
and your regular general fund.
We've got a lot to cover, guys.
We've got a hard stop after everything at 6:45 for planning commission, so.
The planning commission's got 7 items on the agenda. We're gonna have people at the door, yanking the door, and Hayden's gonna be out there holding them off, and it's gonna get ugly.
It's gonna be a long night.
Okay, put it on the agenda.
Okay, that's first item. Second item is, you have that in front of you, is the revised burning ordinance. Number 209. Any questions should be give it to Dietrich and Delaney and Volchi and the chief.
Yeah, because I have questions, but they're actually just comments to council.
Okay.
But I don't want to. Okay. In paragraph AH, how does that work? Section 1, it goes from A to H to L. I just noticed that.
That's why the ellipses are there, because we're only putting in the things we're amending. We're not restating the
Gotcha.
whole ordinance.
It talks about and recreational fires, applicable fire code and all applicable township ordinances. Is it possible typically in guidance that I've done for the government, I'll refer to the applicable fire codes, applicable township ordinances, so that people don't have to find them and they find the right one.
If we remember, then every single time we adopt a new fire code, we have to go back and amend this. And every time we ever do a burning ordinance, we have to go back and amend this. And I don't think you want to do that. Well, unless you really like me coming down here. Yeah, I don't mean to be flip with it, but that is why we do that, because the fire code comes out every 3 years. And the department decides if they're going to recommend to you that you adopt a new code. And if you do, you may amend it. So if we would have, the entire code of ordinances, we'd have to know where every single thing is cross-referenced and make sure we amend every single thing that pertains to an item that we're changing.
Spent a lot of time in the Coast Guard doing just that, but I
understand, but you understand the Coast Guard has a staff that's a bit beyond our staff.
Yes, sir.
And a budget that's a bit beyond.
And I saw Ron's invoice for the time he's put in.
So it can be done. Absolutely, it can be done, but it would come at a cost.
Understood. Okay, in section 16-121, persons living in populated areas. Again, I thought we had like zones. So populated areas is populated area in one of the definitions? It is, okay. It's, never mind, pass on that. It is defined.
Yep.
Just for consistency, in G, we put most of the places, when you have a number, you actually write the number out. Here, 10 is written out. Do you follow the rule? Do we follow the rule of 10 and under is written out and everything above that is a number, or
Where are you looking?
I'm looking at,
Within
section,
10 feet of combustible
G,
materials, there,
G. Shall not be operated.
page 3.
10 feet.
Okay.
It's a style thing.
Yeah.
So there's a rule that you can either write out 10 and below, and everything above that is the number. Is that what the rule we're following?
Normally, if it's double digits, I put the numeral, and I write anything 1 to 9 and write 10.
Right.
But this is not a change. I mean, I didn't edit anything else, but, ordinarily, if I were writing this for the first time, I would put the numeral there.
Gotcha. Throughout, or at least in the beginning, we were doing indents, like as we start from J and we go into salamanders, one salamanders, open charcoal. Yeah, just for readability, can those be indented? We follow the format.
Salamanders are where?
Page 3.
Well, and that kind of stuff will be
Yeah,
picked up when
That
it
gets
gets
picked
formatted
up.
for the book.
That's all I want to know.
See, because what happens, this is just our amendment ordinance.
A working document.
I send it if you adopt this, I send it out to Unicode, who codifies it for us.
It gets.
And
it
the
gets-
website, and then
Okay.
all the formatting is done by them.
And then on page 4, open fires for destroying household paper. We have literally a paragraph and 4 subparagraphs. And I think I asked the chief this, but is burning paper waste a big thing in Laketown? I have reviewed the ordinances from 10 townships and found nothing like this anywhere else.
But people do it still, not many. Some still do, and that's some of the problems is sometimes they do burn other things in their burn barrel. They shouldn't be burning,
Okay.
like plastics or, If I could say that, it'd be nice if we had a population of a little more of 7,500 people, 7,501, I think it is. We could say, can't do that.
Yeah.
Our population is too small at 6,000. We can't outlaw it. I'd love to, because we have some people that. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
And in paragraph M, this is recreational fires, an annual permit. This is the annual permit paragraph. But then our permitting section lists, so you can have an annual permit, but then our permitting section talks about specific dates and times when you're going to burn. How can you have an annual permit? But then when somebody calls in, they have to give a specific date and time as to when they're going to burn. Is that just because it's recreational fires? They don't need permission for the recreational fire?
I would assume we would have an annual permit that would be a bit different.
Chief, you want to give us some explanation?
The big burn. So in other words, the recreational fire is the small one,
With the spark arresting screen.
and we're saying that
container.
people, which we don't need permits for. Okay. And the last couple of things, prohibited acts. I would assume that you changed flammable to combustible. I mean, I spent a good 15 minutes on the internet looking at the difference between flammable and combustible, and yet so everything early on is combustible, and yet here on page 6, we went back to flammable. Should we use this opportunity to fix that, or do we have to leave it as the same? Page 6, paragraph 1, 3, and 6. We're saying flammable, but we made an effort to change it to combustible earlier on.
Yeah, we've got a definition of combustible.
Again, if these sections aren't going to be changed, I get it, but if this is the opportunity, then
No, there's nothing saying we have to deal with this ordinance this month, especially at the winter time. If you want to really sit down and fly spec, I'm just saying,
I get you. So if
we don't have to do, we can we can maybe,
Wait till
I'm
January.
cool.
and put it off till January if you want. I'm just,
Enough said.
so you got time so you really can go through those
Enough said.
details and get it right. That's fine.
And one of the things I'll toss out, Pat, if we were concerned about stuff like that, sometimes the easier way to fix it is to fix the definition. As opposed to every spot.
I assume though,
Combustible material includes flammable.
I assume though, I assume the council changed it to combustible for a specific reason, and that's why,
I changed it because the committee asked for it. That was the change the committee
Okay.
asked for.
we
That's
can,
probably because the chief wanted it that way, right?
we can
So
deal with
maybe the
this.
committee should get that together and look for,
Yeah.
I'm good to go.
All right, we'll hold that one then. We won't put it on
Absolutely.
the agenda.
not
Absolutely.
on the agenda then.
Correct.
Because we did get a objection.
You did get, well, you got a letter.
Right.
of, from a resident.
Is that, yeah.
All right,
That's what
so
we got today?
Yes.
Yeah.
scratch the burning ordinance from the agenda.
Didn't put it on there yet.
Next,
Okay. All right, we'll talk about that next month in January.
see if we're ready. Yeah.
Yep, okay, good. Let's see here, early voting resolution. So we have early voting in Michigan now. And we are required to pass a resolution setting the days and times and location of our early voting poll. And this resolution does that. This follows a format from the state of Michigan. And our hours are gonna be from 8 AM to 4 PM for the 9 days prior to the election. And the location for all Laketown precincts will be here in the township office. Where for our regular in-person voting, precinct 2 would go to the fire station. In this case, for early voting, they will be voting here. And that's just a way of saving some money, so we don't have to double the staff up when we're there too.
Just put a sign up at the fire station during
Yeah.
early voting.
And there'll be, people will be notified. We got, Jenny's working on getting cards out to everybody. We gotta mail everybody in.
Question
Pat?
for Amber. So the paragraph 4 says that, so we got 9 days. And it says township clerk is allowed to set additional hours for early voting, add additional days, et cetera, et cetera. I'm cool with that. I think that's great. Under what conditions or circumstances would we bump it up even more?
I don't know why we would. Are you,
Okay.
are you saying more than 9 days?
Well, it's saying you can.
I guess
If
if
you,
we got swamped with
The
people
fourth
wanting to
whereas
use
clause.
this.
Yeah, but I don't foresee with our population,
I've never had a line.
I think
It's
you're more likely to run into a blizzard.
This is boilerplate stuff that you want to have in there.
well, right, and there would be some I mean, maybe places where you have really high populations and it's really becoming a problem, they might want that. But for us, I mean, it's in there, but I don't foresee
Basically
us
the language of the statute.
by the state.
Yeah, maybe they would find that, boy, they're really swamped on those Saturdays. Instead of going 8 to 4, they'll go 7 to 6.
Yield.
All right, so we'll put that one on the agenda. Next,
Hey, give me a second to catch up here. Board appointments, Linda.
I circulated to the board, my list. Everything other than parks is a supervisor appointment with board concurrence. We have several folks that are renewing, if you will. Barb Hybinski on ZBA, Chad Nienhuis and Dick Becker on planning. Then we have a couple replacements. I talked to Gary Dewey. He's willing to step off of Fire Board. Pat is willing to join Fire Board since he has a special interest in that. I'm gonna step off Fire Board. I'm gonna ask Jim Johnson, our treasurer, to take my seat on Fire Board, just, you know, as keep an extra eye on the expenses from that side. Then as far as planning goes, I've talked with Ray Bursma. He has applied for a couple different township positions, and he's indicated he'll consider planning commission to replace Randy Bexford. I do want to go on record both tonight and next week, thanking Randy for all of his work on Planning Commission because he has worked very diligently in leading that committee. And we are in his debt for the just untold hours that man has worked to make Planning Commission run smoothly. For the Building Authority, Tom Schuff his term is up. Bob Slickers, who historically has been part of our Planning Commission and currently is an alternate on ZBA.
Yes, no, he's a regular,
The regular on ZBA.
Regular on ZBA.
Yes.
He'll take that slot on Building Authority. He comes with a lot of great experience when it comes to construction through his Planning Commission and his day job.
That's family legacy too.
Yeah,
I was teasing him about that because his brother Dave and I were on the first BA
okay.
back in '96.
Sarah Giesler, who's been our pool rep for the Holland Aquatic Center for years, is decided to retire. She highly recommended Colleen Hill, who has reached out to me and said she is very interested in that slot. So I would recommend that. We need a person for Saugatuck Community Rec, but that person has to be from Precinct 3. So I know Stacy Lefevre has applied for several different positions, and I was going to reach out to her and see if she's interested in that.
Fine, precinct 3.
Saugatuck
The
School
Saugatuck
District.
Yes.
School. So the southern part of
Yeah,
that.
you're in the Saugatuck School District.
Yeah, I already talked to my wife. Working on it.
Hmm?
Working on it.
So anyway, that's where I am on my appointments. And then we have a Parks appointment because Jeremy has resigned as the head of Parks. And that is a full board appointment. I'm going to suggest, since we just had a vacancy on Parks not too long ago, that we use the pool of candidates that applied for Parks, with the exception of Pat, because he's busy. And then it'll be up to the board to decide if we want to interview any of those folks again, how we want to handle that. But we'll formally accept Jeremy's resignation next week, and we have 45 days. So that we've got, the board has some time to deal with the Parks vacancy.
Everyone could fill in January then.
Right. But so that's the time frame we have to act on Parks. Not that I think the state would jump in on day 46 and appoint somebody for us, but we're supposed to get it done in 45 days. So I would suggest we use the pool of candidates that recently applied for Parks.
As far as the Planning Commission, I see that you've got Ray Bursma there. Do you make the determination of who's going to be on the planning committee, or is that something that the rest of the board can make throw a hat in the ring for somebody?
Well, sure, it's a supervisor appointment, but if you've got somebody you want me to consider, let me
Yeah.
know.
I do.
That is? Or you want to
Oh,
talk after? That's fine, either one.
No, I'll tell you, Karen Messingale.
Okay. I
I know that she wants to be involved with the planning commission, so.
I'd have to know more about her, her experiences and stuff like that. I know Ray has the experience to handle planning commission. And I personally think he would be a good fit. Like Karen, he's applied for different positions, so it's not somebody that we're just picking cold. So right now, I'm comfortable with Ray being able to step into some really big shoes.
But to follow on to Jim, do we interview again? If you've already seen the individuals, those are known entities, do we interview new people? How do you want to?
For the Parks, it's a board appointment. So if you want to interview, if you want to post, we have the time to post for Parks. So if we want to post for Parks and seek new applicants for Parks, we could.
And it's kind of the way that works by being a supervisor's appointment. Linda says, I would like to nominate Joe Schmo for planning commission. Then you get to vote on it. You don't get to change the nomination. You could say, no, we're not going to put him on there. Then it's up to her to find somebody else.
It's a, what's the word? Iterative? Can't we, I mean, it would be nice, kind of like what, for me,
Yeah.
you see a group of individuals and then at least you see the full range and you get it done.
But that's the
Okay.
difference between the full board appointment at Parks and the supervisor appointment
Okay.
of the committees.
Parks is a different animal. That's the full board. Everybody tossing out names
Gotcha.
or everything else, she's bringing the names forward.
Okay,
And if you want to be appointed to something else, I can make that happen, Pat.
I know you would. I know you would.
So that's the group I'd bring forward. What's the pleasure of the board as far as posting for parks or going with the pool of candidates that came in last night?
So if Jim has a candidate, do we tell him or her, in this case, it's Karen, submit a resume? Can we at least get some sort of vetting?
Well, the people who have submitted already have sent us stuff.
Got it.
And many of them were interviewed for either the parks job or for the township board slot.
But if individuals come up who.
New ones, like Karen's never submitted anything before.
So,
Well, that's what I mean. If we're gonna open it up for new candidates on parks, we should open it up.
oh, it's the decision as to whether we open it up or not.
Yeah, that's the question.
Because I don't think if we're gonna open it up to new candidates, I think we should make it known that it's open to new candidates for parks. I mean, I've heard you say that so many times that, so.
Yeah.
If we want to have Jim put it out there on the website and issue a press release that says we're going to be accepting applications for the parks vacancy through fill in a date. That's absolutely, we can do that.
I'm leaning towards the idea that parks needs. Yeah, I think we should, I'm leaning towards interviewing.
Anybody object with opening it up and having it
I'll
publicized?
make a motion if that's needed.
Oh, I think we should open it up.
All right. In that context. Now
What
we
do
need
now,
calendars then.
because of the time frame.
Right.
Then we'll put it on the website. Jim will put it on his blasts out there. The next print township newsletter does not come out till the end of January. So that's not gonna be fast enough for us.
But I saw, for the position that I fill, it was in the newspaper, so
Right, well,
Yeah, he'll
well,
he
send
can
out
make
the
that
release.
happen, right?
yeah, well, he could try to make
Right.
that happen.
Oh, he's got sway.
Yeah, but he's kind of he bombards him with so much stuff. It says,
So-
it's not called the Laketown News, that's your own newsletter. It's not the Laketown Sentinel. It's not the Laketown Record.
Occasionally it feels like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we accept the resignation on the 13th, then we're supposed to have the slot filled by January 27th.
Working days or calendar days?
Calendar.
So January 27th,
You have time?
we have time, but it probably means an extra meeting in January, which is fine.
I think it's worth it.
Fine.
Parks is important. Parks is important.
If we get the notice out this week, get it published, get it out there, ask for stuff back,
After the holiday, but early in
So-
January.
maybe, actually ask for it back maybe by December 29, which is a Friday.
Or the holidays, you realize,
Well, it's over Christmas, but it's before New Year's.
Okay.
But the 27th is a Saturday.
Al, it'll be a way of screening. If they hustle and to get it in, then we
That's true,
know.
that's true, it's true.
Yeah, whoever wants it.
If they're serious, they'll get it in.
Okay, so then if we do that and Al and his team circulate what comes in the week of January 2nd to all of us. We get back our comments about who we want to talk to. And we've done it a couple times now with, the top three picks. That gets that back to Al by January 5, Friday the 5th. We set up interviews if we're going to interview for the week of the 15th, and we have we're going to do a special meeting sometime the week of the 15th or the week of the 22nd.
We don't know what's gonna be on the January agenda yet. We have one item being the burn ordinance,
But again.
but if there's not much else, you could maybe do the interviews right at your January 10th regular meeting.
If we can if we can turn it that fast,
I think so. Well, if we're giving people till the 29th to submit,
right?
then I'll put that package together for you that weekend and you'll have it, by the first of the year. And then I'll do the same method I've used in the past where you pick your top 2 or 3 people that I just calc that out real fast and boom. Well, you'll know by January. If I get that to you, if they submit by the 29th, I get it to you by the 31st. You get the stuff back to me by, let's say, the 4th of January. I can turn it around fast and
Okay.
Maybe even by the third, we can even talk about that at workshop even. I mean, I'm not gonna get 100 of these. I'll get 5 or 10.
Okay, so our dates are, we're gonna publish as soon as we can.
Mhm.
We're gonna accept the resignation, that needs to be on the agenda, accept the resignation for next week. Give the folks till the 29th to submit.
Yep.
You're gonna turn it around for us. We're gonna get it back to you by the 4th.
Yep.
And we're gonna look at trying to do interviews and or selection on the 10th.
Wham, bam.
Okay? All right,
Wait, when are we doing interviews on the 10th then, January 10th?
yeah, interviews and, hopefully
Unless
selection.
for some reason we've got an overload of items on the agenda. The nice thing about January 10th is you don't have any time cap like we do tonight.
Right.
You know, no meeting after township board.
Make that happen.
So for the agenda for next week, we have the parks resignation followed by board appointments. We're still gonna take care of our regular December appointments
Right,
for everybody else.
right.
Okay, very good.
What else?
Gotta do my eval, but we can do that a little bit later. I gave you in your packet a copy of the Pacer. But now, our Pacer map hasn't looked this good in probably 20 years. I mean, you're hard pressed to find red. Keep in mind now, this whole thing is not Laketown. That's Laketown and the surrounding communities. The part here in white, that's the Laketown. You know, you got a lot of Fillmore showing and some of Saltic Township down below. The white is Laketown, the white background. So the only spot of the red where it's the failed, very poor or poor condition is that little nub on 138th Avenue. An amazingly good project.
I'm trying to picture it,
It's a dead end by the highway.
which is why I don't,
Yeah, nobody, there's one house there, I believe, maybe two. But unless what I did on this version of it is I took our next 2 years work, 2024 and 2025, and put it on that map. And now you'll see the red is totally gone. And some of the other areas that were in the yellow, the fair, or the brownish fair are gone. So if you continue with that plan I developed for you for the next 2 years, you're gonna be in better shape. And then it's just a matter of keeping up on the road work.
Hand out that second version or?
No, I just
Oh.
got,
This is an old one. This is my 19 I was comparing it to.
Okay.
I just leave mine in my folder.
So the other thing maybe to point out for anyone that doesn't know is there's a couple of major roads there that aren't colored at all, and those are the county mains, so they take care of those.
county primary roads.
So 146th, which is weird because a lot of people think it should be 147th, but 146 and 64th
Yeah,
are completely handled by the county, so we don't. That's why.
our county primary roads, they're not our responsibility. As is 66th Street from 146th to 32nd, 140th Avenue from 60th to 64th, 136th Avenue, the entire length in Laketown. Those are all county primaries.
And the little tiny roads, some of those are private, aren't they?
private's gotta be.
Yeah, yeah. Those are all private roads, right?
Right.
All the public roads have some kind of color on them. The local roads, I think they call it, local paved roads. Well, it's just, what that is, we're in a good position now,
Right.
which I'm gonna pound the drum again. So I'm gonna make sure everybody hears this again. You know, with that plan that I gave you, I've got to kind of set out going to 2030 and how we can kind of balance our road money out for the next 5, 6, 7 years, because you're going to need to spend more money on staffing the fire department. It's coming faster than we expect.
Our millage is roads and fire. We have one millage that's combined, roads and fire.
Fire, roads, drains, bike path.
Right.
Remind me one more time, you have written that plan out
Yes.
so that again, in your
Send
absence,
to you again.
we will know exactly what the priorities are.
Yeah.
And it's already
Check,
budgeted.
but that is just laid out for you. You can, as you get further down the road, your plans might change. I'm just giving you my suggestion based on today.
One tremendous storm takes out a couple culverts and plans are gonna change.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Which we've had.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, just wanted to point that out.
Now,
Waters, yes.
Juana, since you were going over roads, it feels like it might be a good segue to talk about the road commission meeting and,
Oh,
Right.
January?
Yeah, January, I sent it out to everybody.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I went last year, it was, I put it in my calendar, I think I'm available. There's no reason why we can't have a few people go.
Well, you can have many, well, you can have two.
Yeah, two. I think, I remember last year, many of the townships had two people. I was kind of an outlier, just one from Laketown, but
At first Thursday in January. I don't remember the date, but.
it's at
I sent you
7
the email
PM.
on that, so.
I mean,
Enjoy
I
yourself.
think I can do it, but I'd like a partner or something to go.
I can probably go to
Or
that.
Jim, are you interested?
What
Set
day is it?
first Thursday in January, 7 o'clock in Allegan.
Like the 5th of
I
January,
can go.
Is it 7 o'clock?
7.
So
Oh, now
it's-
signal 6.
we got a primary, a secondary and a tertiary.
Okay. I know last year I went, it was an absolute blizzard snowstorm and it was a white knuckle drive to the there and back on.
Oh, yeah.
Which is incredibly
it kind of
appropriate
exciting.
for going to a road
Right,
commission
right.
meeting, yes.
Right, but we're-
I've done several of those. All of a sudden it is darker than pitch.
I,
Got on M40 and it's blowing across those farm fields and
I reserve the right to withdraw my,
No, too late.
you're saying you're conditional, depending on
Conditional,
weather,
yeah.
weather dependent.
yeah. Nothing personal, but
What else we got, Al?
I was gonna talk a little bit about the work I'm doing down in the Cal Lake contracts, I want to get full further, but we're working on new water and sewer contracts with our neighbors to the south. The Kalamazoo Lake Sewer and Water Area Territory. I can talk about that publicly now because it's been a little on the quiet side, but it's a significant rewrite of both contracts. And Laketown's involved in the rewrite. And once we get that first draft out, we send it to our council, Mr. Bolsey, to be reviewing that, discussing.
I need background, just a little bit.
Cal Lake, so this quick term is Kalamazoo Lake Sewer and Water Authority. They do the sewer and municipal sewer, municipal water in the Saugatuck Douglas area. They service the city of Douglas, the city of Saugatuck, Saugatuck Township, and a small portion of Laketown. Right now, that small portion is the area on the south side of Goshorn Lake. Those folks have municipal water and sewer through there. We also have agreements to bring it across the highway to service a little bit of stuff on the east side of the expressway when the developer gets ready to pay to drag it over there. So we should be having a draft of that. I'm hoping by early next month. And then Ron and I can pick things apart on that, and there'll be a lot of give and take, but I'm saying that's gonna be coming to you probably by spring, I'm hoping.
We don't have a ton of influence on the contract because we're such a minor player.
Yeah.
And we've gotten the short end of the stick a couple times as a result of that, so we're gonna try to clean that up.
We've got a lot of influence on it these days.
We just want to know what's going on at the very least.
We're a signer on it, so we have.
What else you want to tell us about?
January, you get the poverty exemption resolution coming up again, so we've gotten the rules have changed in that slightly, so Heather and I are making draft changes on that. We'll get that to you for the January workshop.
January, that sounds like a somewhat involved, or is it become, I don't want to say boilerplate, has it become normal? In other words, 'cause I did the reading in the MTA book,
Mhm.
and it sounds
We have a handful of resolutions that are boilerplate that we do every year.
But it falls to one of our township people to make determinations.
Now talk about for the poverty exemption?
Yeah.
For the poverty exemption, it is, they're gonna have, we got the certain guidelines that we put in that every year. And we in the past have made our guidelines easier to comply with. In other words, we've raised the threshold for poverty, so we're not all the way down to, you really have absolutely nothing, and this is the way you've got nothing plus a smidgen under our guidelines, and the board of review does that work, which is another appointed board that we have that does reviews the assessing of property.
Who writes up the guidelines, and you and
Follow the state pattern on that, but then we've adjusted that in the past.
The state gives a base.
Yeah.
You can't go below
yeah,
that.
because I understand it can be adjusted based on local demographics.
Right, and we adjust based on the fact that our SEV is so much higher than, as an average, than the states. So we look at the difference between our average SEV and the states and try and apply that multiplier to the state's baseline.
The actual
So that-
SCV, it's per capita income, I believe.
Is it
they
per
use.
capita? Okay.
That's the
but-
number I can get from the census.
So we're trying to make it so, because the state's poverty limit is so low
Could be.
that realistically, we don't have anybody that would qualify because you can't afford to be here at that level.
Okay.
And
So
we've
to make
raised the
it-
last couple of years, still have had nobody ever apply, not the last couple of years, so.
But you have
Probably,
to.
yeah, pretty much non-issue.
Well, and it's one of the things that, I know Gary was working on, and I think Jim is working on too, is getting more information out there about the different things that people can go after to help with their taxes. If you're a vet, if you're a disabled vet, things along those lines. So getting some of that information out so that people can take advantage of the programs that are there, if they qualify.
And that's all I have.
Well, then let's go into the public comment. So that after public comment, we'll go into the closed session to discuss personnel matters with our council. And then we don't make any decisions in closed session. We don't make decisions at workshop. So we'll come out of closed session and the only thing we'll be left to do is to adjourn. So for those that want to make comment, we'll do comment now so they don't have to stick around just until after we do the closed session. So with that, people in the room, we'll start with. Good evening.
Hello, Mary Jo Bertolino. I am again here to ask for the ARPA funds to be given to Fell in Love Farm. I do have the information. You want to send it?
It's out there. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
In here, it's the impacted nonprofits, decreased revenue from donations and fees. Last time I was here, I told you it was $39,860. That's not including the family visits that they had, so it's probably closer to $50,000. From what I understand, the CEP is for a one-time project, and it's Cheryl tells me that it's limited to $5,000, which doesn't come anywhere close to what they need. They got a small business loan to get themselves through this with the idea that it was going to be forgiven, and it's not. And that small business loan is $35,000 that they have to pay back, which if you take the $5,000 that they CEP and the 50,000, you could give them the 35 to pay back that loan out of the ARPA funds. And the ARPA funds are not town funds. They are from the federal government. It comes from the U.S. Department of Treasury. And I just would like to advocate for them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the room? Jim, we got anybody out in Zoom land?
Everybody remains muted. I see no hands.
All right. Well, that'll take us out of public comment for tonight. Then I think what we need is a motion from one of my board members to go into closed session to discuss a personnel matter with our council.
motion.
Specifically, the motion should be to conduct a periodic employee evaluation, which will be closed at the request of the employee, the township manager. And secondly, to discuss matters exempt from disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act, that being in a confidential attorney-client privilege, privileged written opinion pertaining to personnel matters.
Jim, is that your motion?
That is my motion.
I thought you said that.
Yeah. That's almost exactly what I.
For Jim's incredibly articulate motion.
Support.
It's a Jim and Jim motion, Jim. With that, we'll take a roll call, please, on the motion to go into closed session.
Dietrich,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Howell, Davis.
Aye.
Delaney.
Aye.
And with that, we will go into closed session. So our Zoom will go off for tonight. Thank you all for joining.